What's going on YouTube? So back with another video here, and today I'm going to be focusing on some pretty cool things that I think the average person would be able to install. It takes a little bit of experience, but with this video I'm going to try to cover everything and make it as easy as possible for you guys. So today we're going to be doing daytime running lights. So these are obviously aftermarket lights. LED, and they actually are switch over too. So with the turn signal, amber as well. And I've actually installed these already before. So this video will be pretty easy with showing you how to run it and everything. That's them right there. I went with the same brand. I guess they have a newer design and newer LEDs in there. Those are about 1.5 years old. The only reason I'm replacing them today is because one thing. So with these aftermarket running lights here, if you're going with this kind of design, I see they added a little weather stripping. They don't have that on the other one, but that's the problem, is they actually over time get filled with water and kill out the LEDs. So the actual white LED part it's pretty low. I think I got like 5 or 6. The amber though, yeah, the amber strip is still full and perfect. Still intact, doing what it should. But I'll show you here. Let's start it up. And look at that. Can't really tell. I had about 2 on the right, 6 or 7 on the left. Can't even tell you. So what happened was that I think it just, started getting filled with water. I got a car wash pass at our local car wash, so I get car washes like 3 or 4 times a week, and that plus it's obviously raining today. I do highway travel, so there's a lot of semis and stuff that rain shoots up in my face, and it's just water in general gets these torn up. But I absolutely love them besides that. So enough with the negatives. My plan here today is I got Flex Seal. I had some really sticky stuff, as you see. I just pulled the whole paper towel. But my plan is to put this around the black to plastic clear connection there to see if I can create my own seal to really prevent any water from coming inside of there. LEDs themselves should last a very long time. They don't really die out, especially if you got high quality ones. And their biggest enemy is water, so as for any light. So I'm going to try and defeat that enemy and block out as much water as I possibly can by doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that process. I'll get back to you as soon as I get one wrapped up. All right, guys, so I'm back, and as you can see, my main focus was to make a nice clean line around that edge, and I pretty much achieved that. This Flex Seal stuff sticks really good, and it actually seals really nicely. It actually cuts really easy too. I was surprised that it cut so easy. There's a little gap right there, but I'm not too worried about that corner because, with all the other sealing. But I had so much left over because mine is like 4 inches wide. What I did was I just went super overboard and just completely covered even the back, just in case there was any water that would splash up in there, except for where the cord is coming out at, and a little bit right there. But so I mean, this one is completely sealed up, and I think, just for safety, this isn't a bad idea. I'm gonna poke a hole, like a tiny hole there and a tiny hole there, just for air, just in case this thing needs to breathe. But other than that, the rest of this is going to be sealed up and good to go. So I'm going to get that other one done, and then I can get to explaining wiring and what you need to do to get the turn signal to work, also to power, and what you need to do to get this thing to only turn on when the actual ignition turns on. So these are all sealed up, wrapped, little holes poked. Hopefully I won't have to replace these for ever. they will not be getting any water inside of them at all. So on to the next step here. Let's get into the engine, get to the wiring, and see what we got to do. All right, guys. So first things first, you have to find a negative, a positive, and then a positive for the actual yellow. So negative wise, depending on what you want to do, if you do this side down here, so I did the placement for it down there. I put the negative from that one to a ground on the battery. And you can do two things. You can, for the side over there, run a, I like to use speaker wire because it's just basic copper. It's got protectant on it. As long as you keep it out of heat, it'll be fine. And it's really easy to work with. But you can run from the negative to the light over here to this one and split off so you both have a negative there. Or come over here like I did, and I just found a ground screw and I grounded it out. So that's how I did my negatives. Positive, for the white LED, what I did is I found a fuse. And the fuse I found, which I'm gonna look up because it's been so long. I'm gonna go over here. And that fuse I found looks like F16. And that's right there. F16 is ignition coil. So what I did is the ignition coil fuse. The reason I did that was because when you actually turn on the car, that fuse is going to get positive power all the time. Some people try to use their starter one. The only reason I didn't use starter was because on my car, it would obviously the starter fuse would kick on only when you go to start it and then cut off. So the ignition coil fuse is always on all the time while the engine is on. Not while the engine's in run, not while the engine's in accessory, only when the engine is on and you know the motor's working and everything like that, that fuse will power these on. So I use that one for my positive, and I ran one wire down to this side, ran another wire from the red coming off the actual light, so this red right here. I ran another wire from that red over to this red, connected them both together. That way I just had one lead going down to it. So, you know, I know that sounds like a lot. I really wish I could show you guys, but it's all down there, and it's just too much to get into right now because I've already got it ran, so I can't really pull it all out and do it again. But again, I ran, you know, my positive red to my ignition coil fuse. I just tucked it up onto the fuse, pushed the fuse back in. Then I ran the red one from here, connected it to the red one from there. Now both whites are powered. And obviously it's grounded there. It's grounded on my battery. You have to have ground for either or to work. No ground, no light. So now those are both hooked up. I'm on one more step here. I have to take my yellow, which is actually a positive for the amber light, and I have to find out what to get that to. So there's a couple of different scenarios you can do. You could ultimately go with fuses, or you can go straight to the connector itself. I went straight to the connector itself, and down in here somewhere, here we go, this light's a little better. You can see this copper speaker wire. This was some older speaker wire I had. I opened this up, I pulled the pins out and tested and tested and tested and tested until I found which one was my turn signal. If you have a car that actually has just a turn signal bulb, you know, unfortunately my car does, but it's still a hot mess because it really actually isn't powered by the housing area itself. It's just in there, and then this whole compartment is powered by this one harness. So if you have a bulb that's your turn signal and it's just one harness going to it, two wires, boom, one's a positive, one's a negative, just you know, connect it to that positive and you're good to go. But you know, if you don't, it's still doable. Just find the positive, and what you do is you can splice it like I did, or they actually make these little quick connectors here. which if I had in the past, I would have used, you know, and you can do that, and that's a lot easier. But you just connect that there, and then every time the actual turn signal bulb comes on, so for example, when I unlock my door, you know, that'll turn on. At the same time, my turn signal does. Ground being constant all the time, you know, as long as that's getting power, that will work. That doesn't have to have the car on or anything. And it doesn't interfere with the white. So I'm sorry if that didn't make any sense. I tried to be as cutthroat as possible without actually showing you, you know, physically taking out and splicing and all that. But that's the gist of it. It's you know, it took me 5 minutes to explain. It would probably take me 20 minutes to hook up. So it's you know, it's not too hard. It takes a little bit of time, especially if you're doing it in a newer style car like mine, where everything's super compact and it's super extra, and you got one harness with like 42 different light lines going to it. It makes it a little bit harder. But if you're doing it on a, you know, any other car, even like, you know, the Volvo over here, it's got a turn signal bulb somewhere around here, but even his looks like he's got one harness. So, you know, all cars are different, but it's very simple there. So then that explains all that. The next step here is we're gonna go ahead and put these new ones in, and I'll show you what they look like. I got my cutout there, and I just, you know, tied it in the black and red. It actually does come with some extension wires that are up there already. Right there, you can see them right next to that socket that's tilted. But I already had them. Like I said, I've installed this prior, so I just used those and actually connected them down here to my speaker wire setup and all that I'm running. And I used another speaker wire to run the positive from that side to this side. But now the yellow is actually really long. Oh, that's from the other one. Yellow is actually pretty long there, so I'm just gonna snip that with some wire cutters and tie that in down there with the speaker wire. There it is, the new lights. Not so new to me, but you know, forget the looks, the functionality. They're all working like they should, and all the connections went right back in. So, you know, again, you know, with the whole setup and all the lighting and everything like that, just you know, watch the video, play back what I was saying. It's a really easy concept. If you don't understand it, you know, learn a little bit more about like what fuses you should use and everything like that. But if you have a little bit of knowledge on like wiring, it's really just figuring out the best ways. And again, just run the line that you use where it's cool at. Obviously the engine is hot, but unless you get some heat protectant style covers for those wires, they'll just, you know, burn up and sooner or later just melt, and you don't want that. So just run it along, you know, cooler areas, and I've never had any issues with it or anything like that. So as long as you find the right areas to run it, you should be good. And I absolutely love the looks. I hope you guys like the looks, and like, comment, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any questions or you know, thoughts on what you thought about the video. And until then, guys, peace.